Local Enterprise Week is proudly brought to you by the Local Enterprise Offices and supported by Enterprise Ireland, the local authorities and the Government of Ireland.
Introducing just in a couple of minutes our special speaker today and our trainer that we have worked with over a good number of years, Noel Davidson, and I know he's well known to many of you. You're in for a very fast-paced, very exciting event here this morning. Before I do that, however, I am delighted to say that the Mayor of Fingal, Councillor David Healy, has joined us, and he is going to officially open Local Enterprise Week. So, Mayor, if I could please ask you to unmute your microphone, and you might just say a few words. Thank you.
Okay, I'm delighted to see that there's such a strong take-up of all of the programs run by our Local Enterprise Office in Fingal. The last year has been an extremely challenging one for many businesses, but that is also reflected in the appetite in Fingal for the support services provided by the Local Enterprise Office. I'm really pleased to see there's such a strong interest in the initiatives such as management development, digital marketing, the Start Your Own Business program, and very importantly, the new Green for Micro program, which is being launched later this morning and which will be delivered to small businesses throughout Ireland. This initiative will help you to green your business, and you will benefit from practical guidance on how to make your business more sustainable and learn how to market your green credentials as a selling point. This Green for Micro program is being rolled out by all of the 31 local enterprise offices in Fingal in Ireland, and I hope and expect that we in Fingal will find a strong take-up of this vital support from our LEO. I want to wish you all well in the coming months, and one day we will be able to meet up in person again and get back to the type of enterprise week that we're used to. I hope you enjoy the session today and that we will see you at other events, virtual events during this week. I urge you to make the most of Enterprise Week, use the opportunity to learn, to network, and to position your business so that you can benefit from the changes that are going to come. I'll hand you back to Oisín now, but finally just declare that the first ever virtual Local Enterprise Week 2021 is officially open.
Mayor, and thank you for those words. And if we had a ribbon here to cut, a virtual ribbon, you could probably do that. But look, many thanks for taking the time to join us here this morning. Appreciate the support. Okay, I'm going to now hand over to our Master of Ceremonies, Noel Davidson, and he's well known to a lot of you, and he's very well known to us. Obviously, we've been working with Noel for a good number of years. The topic of this morning's session is all about future-proofing your business and working smarter to prepare your business for the coming years, both in terms of dealing with the pandemic as we emerge out of that situation, and then hopefully the economic recovery that'll follow that. So yeah, I'm also, by the way, delighted as well. We're going to have a special guest in about an hour or so. Our Fingal Enterprise Award winner this year is a company called Kianda Limited. Some of you may have picked up on that. And one of the principles of that, it's run by two very astute entrepreneurs called Daria and Osvaldo Sousa, a husband and wife team. Super people, great business. And they also won the National Enterprise Awards Export Award just there a couple of weeks ago. So you're going to be in for a treat to hear from them as well. But look, I won't keep you up any longer. The best of luck to all of you. I look forward to seeing you all through the screen at a number of other events during the course of the week. So I'll hand you over now to Noel Davidson.
Thank you very much, Oisín. And it's great to see so many people in the room kicking off National Local Enterprise Week. We forget that it's happening all around the country. And thank you, Mayor David Healy, for cutting the virtual ribbon and kicking things off. You're all very, very welcome this morning. What a year it has been. It's hard to believe this time last year it was the last time, for me anyway, that we were doing large events in a room and face to face, and we have all pivoted and changed, and that's what we wanted to kick off this morning. Working smarter to future-proof our business, taking stock where we are, how we can use some of the tips and tricks that we've all collected over the last 12 months and bring them into our businesses and to be able to kick things off. Those that know me know I don't do death by PowerPoint. We're going to make this as interactive and as live as possible. So what I'm going to ask you to do is let's kick things straight off and get a sense of the people in the room. Is this your first time engaging with your local enterprise office? So 54 people in the room. We're going to use some of the polling features there with Zoom. And I'll throw that up if you want to click yes or no. Is this your first time engaging with your local enterprise office? And we'll wait till we get around 80% of answers on that, and then I'll share it out with you. So there we go, just over 85%. So it's great to see actually that 90% of the people in the room, this is not your first time engaging with the local enterprise office. Because it's a nice reminder that while this is a very special week and it is packed with over 200 individual training sessions and events, it actually is a celebration of what goes on all year round. So keep an eye on your local enterprise office website, whether you are the 42 people who have been dealing with your LEO all the time. Remember that the website changes nearly every day with events and supports as they come down. So you can keep an eye on the Local Enterprise Office website, so localenterprise.ie/Fingal, and you will see all the events that are available this week and all the events that are happening throughout the year. So that's on the front page where to book. Let's get a sense of the businesses in the room, if it's okay. I'm going to ask you to describe your current business status. Are you a sole trader, partnership, limited company, or are you a startup? Are you trading 6 months or less? So sole trader, partnership, limited company, or a startup. Again, it's completely anonymous, but it's just to get an idea of the setup of the businesses in the room. So you're getting used to the tech. We're at 85% already. I have answered. So let's end that poll and then we'll throw it up on the screen. So 40% of people are sole traders. We have one person in the room in partnership, 49% limited company, and we have 4 people in the room who are startups, and you're all extremely welcome. What we wanted to do was take a moment in time. Here we are today, the 1st of March, and let's continue the journey, no matter what your business sense and state is, on working smarter, whether you're a startup and just kicking into a brand new enterprise, whether you're a limited company, partnership, or a sole trader. What are the tips and tricks to be able to action viable, actionable, ethical things that we can all do to improve our business and to be able to improve the ability to get new customers and retain new customers? So let's kick it off. Those that know me, and actually I see Mayor Healy is laughing and smiling. This Mayor Healy and I know each other from being on the water in Howth, and we sail puppeteers whenever we can, David. It's been a long time since we've done it. But I actually love sailing as an analogy. And I want to explain what I mean by that. When you start out first, you start in a very small boat on your own, a little dinghy, and you're learning a few little tips and tricks, and out you go and you practice and you get a little bit better. And then you want to get bigger. You want to actually go bigger, better, faster, and more. And you realize then you can't do that on your own. So you get a crew member and the boat gets a little bit bigger. And then as the boat gets bigger and bigger, you need more crew members because you physically can't do everything. You know, as the boat gets bigger, different controls get further away from you and you have to delegate that out. Now, in this picture here, there's a team of us here and we're coming down to a turning mark on the course. And a lot has to happen. So you can see, you can't see it in this picture on the boat, but you can see what's happening behind. There's this big spinnaker. It's the big sail at the front. That needs to come down. Another sail needs to come out and all tidied up in seconds as you round the mark. If one of those people falter or mess up, a place is lost. They'll be passed out by somebody behind them. It's all based on teamwork and each person knowing what they are doing. And from a sailing point of view, I love the analogy of a voyage, and I'll explain what I mean. When we stopped a long time ago, when we got to the edge of a piece of land and we stopped walking and wanted to move to the next stage, and we see land across the way, we wanted to travel, we developed another mode of transport, which is sailing. We'll float across the water, we'll power ourselves by wind or whatever we can, and we'll be able to move from point A to point B. But in order for a voyage to happen, you have to have a starting point, point A, and that's what we're going with today. And then you have to have a goal, a destination in the future, and point B. But sometimes that can be quite far away. And the curvature of the earth causes a problem. You can't see point B. So most sailors, we love these kind of pictures. And if you ever go to book a sailing holiday or an event, all the photographs look like that. Gorgeous, sun shining, flat water. It'll be beautiful. Doesn't always look like that. Sometimes it looks like this, you know, and you're clinging on literally for dear life. But this is a professional racing team. They have trained extensively. They have done their risk management, and they have all the technology on board. They have all the assets that they need to protect themselves, to communicate with the outside world. And they're loving this, by the way. And of course, there's a life raft, you know, just in case the worst things happen and the boat is holed and starts to sink. It is a lovely analogy from a business point of view. The local enterprise offices are sort of like the lifeboat. You know, they're also the training, you know, where we want to go and learn some new skills. And I love some of the sailing analogies that you'd see in a second. But we're going to focus on this voyage today. Smarter steps to future-proof your business. And it's based on 25 years of experience. And we're going to go through it step by step this morning. And we're finished around 11:30. There'll be a little comfort break in between it, but the time will fly. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you have a couple of sheets of paper with you and a pen, this is not a test. We're not going to ask you to call it out to everyone else in the room. This is just private for you. But we want you to take a moment in time, and we're going to start our journey from point A to point B. It's broken into 4 steps. We want to validate where you are now, your position today, your point A. And then we're going to talk about a vision where you'd like to bring your business, whether you're a startup, whether you're a sole trader, partnership, limited company. We'll be talking about that helicopter view, and I'll explain that in a second, where you can broaden your perspective to be able to engage with your local enterprise office and avail of new training and to work on your business. And then evaluate. We want you to walk away today as the first event of Local Enterprise Week with a plan, little action points that you can do. And we're going to have some business buddies in the room that you're going to meet later on that'll hold you accountable for it, because we're great at writing these things down, but not doing them. So you'll see where we'll go with that one. So these are the 4 steps. We're going to validate, look at your vision, enhance the view, and then evaluate yourself along the way. But to explain the problem that this curvature of the earth would take to any sailor if they're embarking on a long journey, first of all, at point A, when you know your starting point and where you are, and you have a big lofty goal in the distance, point B, and it's over the horizon, you have this vision of where you want to go, but you can't see the destination, right? It's not in your line of sight. You do your market research, you hope that this goal or this destination is going to look the way you hope it will when you get there, but you know it's out there somewhere, but it's over the horizon. And then sometimes what happens, and what has probably happened to a lot of businesses in the last year, especially as a result of the pandemic, is you're in this midpoint. You've started this journey, especially under the COVID conditions, and you're in that limbo view in the middle where you can't see where you started and you can't see where you're going. And that's really where we wanted to focus today. You can't see point A, you can't see point B. So you often hear this helicopter view, where if you were able to elevate yourself up, you'd have a better view over the horizon and be able to see a little bit more. So we're going to be working on that today. And then things happen, and COVID happened. If you think about this time last year, if we were doing this, and we did during Enterprise Week, all the plans were made, we focused things out, and then lockdown, literally a week and a half later. So things changed, and we might have to adjust our course. The destination's still the same. The goal is still the same, but we might have to just take a different route to get there. And then lastly, then the destination. And I love some of the sailing analogies, you know, where you get to know the ropes. And you say this, you bring somebody into the business and you get them to know the ropes. Get on board a boat and you haven't a clue what to do. People show you what rope to pull. It's the greatest sailing analogy. But one of the other ones is a good sailing analogy. You start with a clean slate. And way back then, when somebody would be on watch on the big square rigging ships of old, they had a piece of slate stone and bit of chalk, and they wrote down the weather conditions and sea state and what they were observing. And then when they were placed on the watch, they handed it over, and the person that replaced them started with a clean slate. They wiped the slate clean. So we're going to do that today. We want to forget about some of the difficulties that we've all been through the last 9, 10, 11 months. And we want to look forward to a smarter and brighter future and the steps to get us there. So let's kick it off. And these are the steps. We're going to validate where you are, vision, the view, and then the steps along the way to get to where we want to go. So your position right now, let's take out your sheet of paper. Can I ask you, first of all, to say congratulations. You have started in business. And I know we have quite a few people that are startups in the room, but you've started that journey by turning up today. And it's great to celebrate that we're still in business. You've started and you're still in business, as tough as things have been. But let's take a stock and let's take a review. So can I ask you, on your sheet of paper, write down things that you know today, the facts, like 3 or 4 things that you know today. So 1, you've started in business. 2, I'm still in business. But now let's get down to the nitty gritty. I have X number of clients. Facts, things that you know. I have moved online, maybe using the trading online voucher. Facts, things that I've done over the last 9 or 10 months. This is completely private to you. But let's celebrate successes, things that have worked really well in the last 9, 10, 11, 12 months, despite the hardship that we have. 3, 4, or 5 facts that you know right now about you and your business. You've started in business, you're still in business, you've X number of clients, and there are 57 people in the room. Some of you are going to meet later on. That is a fact, and they'll be able to pass on some tips and tricks and some of their story of how they've navigated the pandemic over the last 9, 10, or 11 months. So I've X number of clients, and that's always a really good thing to look at and focus. If you had 3 or 4 clients, or 10 or 20 clients, some of the simplest methods of gaining business is that power of recommendation. If one of your clients can recommend you to a new client, it is a great source of business. So if you only 3 clients and each one recommended you to one other person, you have doubled your client base. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes the simple things of going back to existing clients that know you, that like you, that trust you, and are able to recommend you to someone else. Then when we think about a voyage, and we call this the early stage compass. So what I'm going to ask you to do, no matter what stage in business you are at, I'm going to go through this list and we'll talk through it. And rather than you ticking the boxes, if this was in front of you, as we highlight it, if there's something you haven't done, I'll ask you to write it down. So we call this an early stage compass. These are things that you should have done by now as a startup business or on your startup journey. And it's a nice little reminder of some areas that we might look at that need attention again. So some of these we'll be able to tick, especially because you're here this morning. But let's go through them. So in the top left-hand corner, registering with your local enterprise office. And great to see that so many people have engaged with their local enterprise office in the past. Nice little reminder to do so again. And have a look at some of the supports that are there that you now may be able to avail of that you haven't looked at or availed of in the past, or you might avail of them again. And consider mentoring with the local enterprise office. A mentor is one of the most valuable things that you can do, where there is an expert in their field and they can give you help, advice, and counsel and steer you in a certain direction. Start a spreadsheet listing invoices and expenses. Sometimes it's really important to take stock. And I know it's very basic when we put it, but I've worked with many, many businesses, 15 or 20 years in business, and they've forgotten that basic spreadsheet where you list down your income and your outgoing. So the invoices and expenses, money in, money out. Start a spreadsheet and start managing them. If you have an accounting package, take a real deep look at it and start mapping out and seeing what was invoiced maybe this time last year pre-pandemic, and is there a chance to go for some of those clients and customers that you have lost. You can definitely take this one, join a network or two, because you're here this morning, and we're going to have a chance to use some of the breakout rooms later on and after the little comfort break, where you're able to share some of the specs with each other this morning. From an entrepreneurial learning point of view, decide on so many hours per week. And this has been really exaggerated by our move to digital. We were always going to move as a nation more online. And I saw one of the banks announced this morning that they're closing some of the branches because they're moving into a new digital world. We all are doing that. And the ability to learn and improve our knowledge has never been easier, from podcasts to the University of YouTube to signing up for some online courses. So dedicate so many X hours per week. So if we're hitting things now that you haven't done in a while, write them down on the sheet and say, here's things that I'm going to plan to do. So starting with a learning time, an hour or two a week where you put on the headphones for your own time and listen to a podcast, read up on trends, to subscribe to Startup Ireland, the blogs, to any information in your area of expertise, that you become more of an expert in your area of expertise by listening to other people. Become familiar with accelerator programs. So there are lots of supports for businesses, whether it be the NDRC, New Frontiers, feasibility grants, and you're going to hear Daria when she comes on later on about her journey through the Local Enterprise Office, New Frontiers, and onto Enterprise Ireland. And Daria and Kianda won the Export Award at the National Enterprise Awards a couple of weeks ago. But they would have followed that path. And I'm not really a really good reader. I find it very difficult in the evening to open a book and actually read a physical page. My eyes get tired very quickly, especially being on Zoom or doing the training as we used to do in the old days when it was face-to-face. So I use Audible. And for those of you that are familiar with Audible, it's phenomenal. It's an Amazon product. You can buy a book in audio format and the author reads it to you through the headphones. And it's a fantastic way, whether if you're in the car, and hopefully when we get outside the 5K limit and lockdown is reduced over the next couple of months, and we're traveling from A to B, sticking on an Audible book is a phenomenal thing to be able to do. So TED Talks, podcasts, anything in your area that you'd like to upskill and reskill. Dedicate one day a week, insert in your calendar or diary, make it an action point, to marketing, to getting new clients, meeting new people. Now, I have getting out and meeting new people, and of course that is curtailed, but we're doing it this week online. There are so many networking events throughout this week of Local Enterprise Week. I would encourage everybody to attend at least one. You never know who you're going to meet at one of those events. Could be the most important future client that you'll ever meet. But you have to give yourself those opportunities to meet. So dedicate one day a week, and especially as we move forward and out of lockdown over the next couple of months, to be able to do that, to marketing, meeting new clients, or re-engaging with existing ones. Dedicate half day a fortnight, again, put in your calendar, your diary, to your finances and your invoices. So that spreadsheet listing that we started there, point 3, now start working on them. Dedicate a half day a fortnight, every 2 weeks, one little morning, put it aside to go through it and manage and measure it. You can definitely tick this one this morning, taking 2 or 3 new courses per year, because you've actually started this morning, and we encourage you to enjoy the rest of the Local Enterprise Week. Now we have here, create a LinkedIn page. Most of you will have one. It's a nice reminder to visit it again and give it an update and start to shake that network tree that LinkedIn allows you to do. Have another look at your online activity. So designing your web page, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest account, whatever it is for your business, it's well worth having another look at it. For those of you that have availed of the trading online voucher, remember, you can apply for a second one. And for those of you that haven't applied for the trading online voucher and would like to know more about it, there is a seminar on Friday on this week. It is a national seminar, and it's being hosted by the Local Enterprise Office in Fingal, and there are still spaces available for that this Friday. Talk to other entrepreneurs, share learning, experience, and contacts. We are going to do that today. We have, as part of this program, there's a little bit of a model here where we're going to have a couple of minutes in a breakout room where you'll be able to do a task that we're going to do today. Look to friends and family for help, those who can leverage your network. It's a nice little reminder that we can do that. Join industry groups. So the Craft Council of Ireland, Dublin Food Chain, wherever your genre of business is, there is always some supports and networking groups and industry groups. So source those out and don't be afraid to join them. From a marketing point of view, doing stuff for free is where we start off, but be careful of that. You know, it's very easy to get into that cycle of doing a lot of our marketing for free. And it's nice to take stock of our marketing. Some of the things that we do is a marketing cost. Your time is a marketing cost. Set up your TR1 form and open a bank account. It feels real. These are the things that we would have done as startups. I would urge everyone to have a quick look at some of the digital assets that's available for bank accounts now. There's a lot of new competition in the market with the digital banks, and a lot of support out there to be able to now take payments online. So you may not have had the capacity to take a payment online in the past, but please look at those facilities. They're very easy to use with thanks to PayPal, to Stripe, to Elevon, to WorldPay. Any of those payment gateways are very easy to implement via websites and are online. Don't expand too quickly. Stick to a niche or 1 or 2 products. Difficult to do. Nice to rewind back and think about a niche part of your business and refocus on that again. So nice little reminder. Learn quickly and quietly. Don't broadcast to media until the business model is tried and tested, but go out with a minimum viable product and learn from it. I think this is a lovely reminder that as startups, that's what we did. We went out with a minimum viable product and we learned from what worked and what didn't work. Many of us have had to pivot over the last 9-10 months, and we may have come out with new concepts or new way of doing business. It's a nice way of learning from that and holding on to that as we move forward. Because when we do come out of lockdown, digital is not going anywhere, and we've embraced it, and we're going to stay with that online capacity. And don't bite off too much in the first 6 months. And I think that's a nice reminder as we go in to the start of 2021 and a new business year, as we're coming in now out of winter and into spring and into summer. And let's not bite off too much too quickly. So we call this the early stage compass. As we've gone through that, there might be 1 or 2 of those that resonate with you, and they become little action points, things that we might, for our business, have a quick look at. So now that we're settled in, we've 56 people in the room, I'm going to ask you to sign in for today's session. So if we're in a live room, we're passing around a sign-in sheet, but we can do this electronically this morning. So if you have your mobile phone with you, you can use it as a second screen. If you have your browser open, you can open up the browser and put in menti.com. So a little website, menti.com, and we'll ask you to enter that code 2142870, and we'll get you to sign in for this morning's seminar. So menti.com 2142870. We'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so let's continue on with the little voyage this morning. So when we're validating where we are, our start point, it's a lovely little reminder of some of the things that we should have done by now as a startup, as kicking off in business. And it's a nice reminder of some of the blind spots that sometimes we forget about. So as you go through this, you would have ticked things that you've done. It's nice to remember things that you haven't done, a quick reminder as some action points. But one of the things we skip is ourselves. We are the drivers of our business. And some of you will be familiar with this wheel of life, and it's a really nice thing to do from an individual point of view. And I remember I did this myself back in 2013, and I want to share that with you now. So on your sheet of paper, I'm going to ask you to draw a little 8 slice of pie circle like this. So it's a very simple thing to do. You draw a circle, you do a cross down the middle, and then you do an X, right through the center, and that'll divide it up into 8. And then you can put different headings on it. It's totally up to you, but I'm going to suggest these 8 this morning. So I put in finance, personal growth, health, family, relationships, social life, attitude, and career. Now, if there's something that jumps out that you'd like to not put in there and replace it with something else, of course, you are free to do that. And as you look at it, the little spoke, the center sprocket, is 0. And the spokes of the wheel graduate out from 0 to 10. So the theory is, in each slice, you give yourself a rating. So I'll give you a second to draw that, and then I'll give myself as an example of what I did in 2013, and then we'll give you time to do this in a second. So I'll give you a minute or two just to draw that one out. So while you're drawing it there, I'll give you a little idea of what I did way back in 2013. So 7-8 years ago, I put myself on this for the very first time, and I went around and I gave myself a rating. And this is for you. I'm not going to ask you to stand up and share this with anyone in the room. It's going to be completely private to you. So 2013, I was kind of taking stock, and it was a moment in time, and I started to rate myself in each of these areas. So career was going well. I was about 3 years in business as a self-employed startup, and I was learning an awful lot, and things were developing quite well. I was in social media and the online world. So I get myself about an 8 or a 9 on that one. So you draw a line across. Finance, not so good. I mean, I was really busy, but I loved working, which meant I put sending the invoices out and actually writing them on the long finger. So I was doing the work, but not sending out the invoices quick enough. And then that came to bite me further down the line, where I wasn't getting the cash flow in because I wasn't sending the invoices out. It wasn't that people didn't want to pay them. I was just lazy and wasn't sending them out. So I gave myself a lower score there, a 6 or a 7, and you draw a line across. Attitude was great. I loved what I was doing, bouncing out of bed each morning. So gave that a high score. Personal growth was good. It was one of those areas that was developing really fast. It was a really kind of sexy industry to be in, the online world. A lot of the social media channels were evolving. So I was learning a lot. So personal growth, I'm going to put up high. Health, not so much. And what I mean by that is, I remember as I was bouncing around from training session to training session, I remember one day looking behind the seat of the driver's seat of the car, and it was full of empty McDonald's boxes and milkshake. Oh, I love milkshakes, loved them. But there was those empty cartons behind the seat, and it was shocked to me that was the life. You were bouncing from session to session. You'd pull in, put diesel in the car, and you'd go and doing the fast food outlets. And that's not healthy. And I wasn't drinking enough water and not getting enough sleep. So I was being very honest with myself and giving myself a very low rating on that one. Social life was amazing. I would go to the opening of a crisp packet. So as you were working hard during the week, every Friday night, every Saturday night, you were going out. But then that has its consequences. Family, not so good. So my mum, I wasn't getting up early on a Saturday morning after being out the Friday night before, or a Sunday morning, to go and see my mum. So there's a shorter time with her, and that's not good. And then ultimately, your relationships suffer as well, because, and we've all done it, bringing the laptop to bed or the iPad, and you're answering emails at 11, 12 o'clock at night, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning with the lights still on, or date night, and you're still not answering texts on the phone or it's beeping, and relationships suffer. So that was me in 2013. Now, the idea then is that you transferred that onto maybe a goal in the future. So what I did was I said, I'm going to give myself 3 years. And I transferred then onto this what I'd rated myself in 2013. And then the theory is that you try to smooth it out. So if this was a bike, if this was a bicycle, how would that ride be if that was the shape of the wheel? And that's the theory. You know, work-life balance, we often hear, well, it's balancing out these areas of your life. So what I did there was I looked at the ones and I colored them in. I started to smooth them out. Now, just for demonstration purposes, I'm making these all a 10, but that's unrealistic. The theory is you bring back the higher ones and you bring up the lower ones to make it more of a circle and smooth out the ride. So you can see here, as I start to color them in, I'm nearly running out of black ink on the finance one. Health, yeah, there's a whole pen nearly gone coloring that one in. And then family and relationships. So I can see there are 4 very distinct areas that I needed to work on: finance, health, family, and relationships. So I'm going to invite you now. We'll give this a couple of minutes. If you would give yourself a rating today. So on this, private to you, finance, personal growth, health, family, relationships, social life, attitude, and career. Give yourself a rating today, the 1st of March, 2021, from 0 to 10 on each of those. So as we start to work on a vision, it's no mistake that we're starting with ourselves. We are the drivers of our business. And if we don't look after ourselves first, well, we can't look after the business end of things either. So this is a really nice way of taking stock, measuring how you rate yourself on these areas. And then you're then highlighting a couple of areas that, giving yourself a goal, it could be this time next year, 12 months from now, it could be 3 months from now. Which of these areas would you like to improve? And you can't change anything until you first become aware of it. And this is a nice way of shining a spotlight private to you on some of the areas that might need attention. It's great to see so many familiar names and faces in the room, and it's nice to be among friends. When you're going to start discussing things like this, it's great to do it. So we don't often shine a spotlight on ourselves, and I'm not looking at anyone in the room when I say, aren't we great at giving other people advice? We all do it, don't you? Know what you should do? Yeah. And we do it because we're givers. We like to help people, but it's nice to shine the spotlight on ourselves and say, you know, there's an area that I need to focus on. So what I'm going to ask you to do, we're going to open up some breakout rooms just for 10, 11 minutes. And there's the first chat. Yeah, Laura's popped in there. So helpful. Thank you, Laura. It's such a simple thing that we do, and we just don't do it enough. Just focusing on ourselves first before we do anything else. These are areas that have impact in everything else we do. So what I'm going to ask us to do, quick run into breakout rooms. All right. So I'm going to set up breakout rooms where we'll have 3 people in each room. And I'm going to ask you to share, and only if you're comfortable with, share the one area that you're going to focus on with the other people in the room. That's the task. It's a really simple thing. Out of all of those 8 segments, I'd like you to pick one thing that you're going to commit to do that needs attention, and I'm going to ask you to share it with the other people in the room, right? And them with you. The reason being is, as you voice it, as you mention it, you're going to commit to it. It's as simple as that, because we're great at writing these things down, but we never action them. So I'm going to open up 14 breakout rooms. There will be, actually, I might just open it up a bit further. Yeah, 16 breakout rooms. So mostly there'll be 3 to 4 people in each one. We'll just do it for 10, 12 minutes. I want you to share one area with the people in the room that you are committing to change or to put attention on, and then you. And if 1 or 2 people are stuck, you might be able to help them out with some suggestions on how to improve that. So 12 minutes in the room, share your one area that you're going to promise yourself that you're going to work on. The rooms are now open, and I will see you in 12 minutes. Off you go. So I have 3 people in the room. There's Gemma O'Halloran. Hello, Gemma. We've got somebody who's called Winner and Jure Zorica. So if you're having, you can unmute yourself, by the way, if you want to switch that on. If you're having a problem bouncing into one of the rooms, I can physically bounce you in, but just let me know if that isn't working for you. There's Linda Waters. Linda, how are you doing? I'll get you to unmute yourself there.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was in a breakout room and just the sound did not work. No
problem at all. I'm going to see if I can bounce you into another room that is working, if that's all right, Linda.
Well, I know mine is working if you can hear me, so maybe it was the other person.
Hello,
that's Mohammed there.
Yeah, now it's working. Sorry for that.
I was in a room with Mohammed and the room didn't work. There was no sound.
No problem at all. Well, let's see if we can bounce you into one room. I'm going to look for one other room that only has a couple of people in it. So we might bounce you into room 8. Give me 1 second.
Thanks.
Not at all, Gemma. Mohammed, I'm going to bounce you in there as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
So welcome back, Sarah and Fidelma. That's great. You're the first ones back. So well done. And we have 90 seconds left with all the other people in the room. So well, you see what'll happen. It always happens that it'll go right down to the very last couple of seconds, and then people will be kicked out in mid-sentence. But that worked okay for you guys? That's brilliant. Yeah. There's Don. How are you, Don?
I know. Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good. No, I found myself sitting on my own for Michael, who was in the room with me, had to take a call. So I went out and made tea. It's okay.
That's grand. Not at all. The bit of improvisation there as well. No, good to see you, by the way, but no
Thank
issue
you very
at all.
much. I didn't realize you were a sailor in my own patch here, so I must keep an eye out next time in the summer now.
Yeah, so I have a little wee puppeteer 22 in Howth, and then I sail on a few other boats. I was out in the laser yesterday for the first time in Broadmeadows, so social distance at its best.
I have a large canoe, so I'll be out in Broadmeadows right enough. In fact, I was very jealous in the last few days, but I'll stick to the paddles. I call it paddle power, actually.
There's nothing like it. But it's coming back again. Sure, they have people standing up on surfboats with a paddle now.
Mine's a big inflatable thing, but very strong. And when I was living in Sutton, I could go out the back, put it in Sutton Creek and paddle over to Bull Island at 7 o'clock in the morning. The seals will come out and meet me. It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. But I've moved now, so unfortunately I haven't been in the canoe for nearly 2 years. So we'll be back soon. Well, yeah, this is great. This is terrific. Well done. Super.
Yeah. We're on the first part of it, but I wanted to introduce the breakout rooms to a few people who maybe haven't seen them before. So welcome back, everybody. And I do know, because I saw that the countdown clock went 3, 2, 1, and then you were all kicked out. So you might have been in full sentence. But apologies if that happened. And Linda, by the way, came out and then went back into a different room. So it was just figuring it out, because we'll be using that a little bit later on. So thank you for doing that. So a quick reminder of what we were doing there. The little wheel of life, and it's a lovely little exercise to do, because we forget about ourselves. We are always really focusing on others, especially as business people. So to recap, in 2013, I did a quick moment in time, and the theory is you put that on a dual wheel. So you're meant to draw one beside it, and you can do this later on yourself, and then highlight where you want to bring it to, the adjustments you need to make, and over a time frame. So in this instance, I did it over 3-4 years, and I was looking at these areas to improve. So it's a nice little exercise to do that. So when we talk about then vision, so thinking about where we are at the moment, both from a business point of view, I have X number of clients, I've started up in business, and I'm still here. And then from a personal point of view, that little wheel of life, let's move on then to the next stage. So your future, your line of sight. And remember that that goal may not be visible. You know, we haven't identified it. We don't know what it looks like, but we're trying to do that. So let's take that little check of business and line of sight, and we'll do that now. So based on what we've done so far, I want you to ask, where are the opportunities based on what we've just done? Those simple little exercises. Let me explain. If you said you have X number of clients, well, I now have those number of clients that can recommend me. That is an opportunity, but only if I seek it out. So I have 3 clients, recommend me. And then as a result, I can increase my client base. So if each client was able to introduce me to somebody else, there's a possibility of doubling that client base. Now, by engaging, givers get. You might have to do something in return for that client when you ask them for that, but it gets that re-engagement going. So there is an opportunity. So from a vision point of view, I'm going to ask you to identify those couple of things. So there's some opportunities that may be there based on something you wrote down. And if you were doing the wheel of life from the business point of view, what would make it 10 out of 10? What would I put on my business vision? So to explain it, what is your vision for the business? We'll give this 5 minutes. It could be, in the next 12 months, what turnover do I want? Do I want to solidify the one I have, bring it back to pre-COVID level, or do I want to increase it? Give yourself a target. What profit level do you want? So turnover is one thing, but profit level might be, I don't want to increase the turnover, but I want to increase the profit by reducing the costs, increasing the margin, looking at being leaner. I mean, looking at the business processes, which I'll be able to hone on and increase profit. How many clients, many jobs do you want? And I mean this respectfully. It might be a chance to cull. The Pareto effect is a very well used mantra, and that is we get 80% of our business from 20% of our clients. So if you remember, I was saying do a spreadsheet for your invoicing and your expenses. When you look at that, you actually can spot that 80-20 rule. And I mean this with respect to everyone in the room. It's a really nice thing to grade your clients. So on that list, if you were to rate your clients, and I remember doing this myself, and I won't give you names, but I had a list of clients, and January of a particular year, I sat down and I rated them from 0 to 10 of how easy they were to work with, how much I enjoyed that collaboration, how quickly I got paid and the invoices were being paid and sent back. And then there was a bit of a shock, and that was the big ticket clients that I thought were the big core spenders with me were scoring really low. And there were other clients that I was getting a smaller amount of, but little and often. And they added up to a much better clients to have. So I had a culling. I sacked a couple of clients and got rid of them. And it can transform the business. That little bit of dead weight. It's just business, but it's a really interesting thing to take stock. So on your vision, I'd like you there, private for you, answer those couple of questions. What turnover would you like? You could be starting from scratch and you're putting that in. It could be an existing turnover that you want to maintain, one from pre-COVID, or it could be a new turnover you want to generate. The profit level out of that, worth looking at. How many clients and jobs do you want? And then more importantly, as we grow, we've got to delegate. Who's doing what in the business? So now maybe an opportunity to seek help from an accountant, legal advice, getting a mentor from the local enterprise office, or maybe looking at part-time staff, taking some on, or making a part-time full-time, taking somebody back who's been furloughed. So we'll give you those 5 minutes just for yourself, and it's completely private to you. Start out thinking of the business vision. What would make it 10 out of 10? So we've all got used to, by the way, Zoom. So I've switched on the ability to unmute yourself. So you're all muted at the moment, but if you click the microphone, yeah, it'll unmute you straight away. So we've 49, 50 people in the room, which is great. It's a little bit easier to manage then. So you're very welcome to unmute yourself and shout anything out at all. Hello, Helen.
Noel, hi, how are you?
Good. I just saw the microphone go unmute. So
Yeah.
We're using you to test it. There you are.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Yeah, well then I might as well say something while I'm here. Yeah, I feel that I do work with a lot of people as a coach, and I say to them, you know, think about how much you want to make so you can look after, say, 2 people and make 50 quid, or you can work after 1 person and make 50 quid, you still make 50 quid. So as I was told by my very, very first employer a long time ago, everybody can be a busy fool. So, you know, it's the bottom line is it's easier to work clever and a little bit less and do a very good job. And, you know, you'll do better, because I work with therapists quite a bit. So that's one thing that just maybe you reminded me of there. No.
And Helen, I'm delighted you brought that up, because I remember when we were designing this session, I did struggle with the name, and I was calling it Working Smarter and to Future-Proof Your Business. And those that know me know I come from a bit of a tech background, and I'm a bit of a nerd from that point of view. And I was really worried that people would look at working smarter and they think it was all tech. It's not. Exactly as you said, Helen, it's those little things that you can be a busy fool, and identifying the little waste areas that we can attend to. So thank you for making that point. So I'll give this another minute there on this one. What is your vision? Or a couple of areas that you might have just identified that need a bit of attention. Now, you may have identified them and don't know how to attend to them. Don't worry. We will be able to address that now as we come on through the session. And thank you, Helen, for the live demo, because anyone in the room is welcome to do that. You can unmute yourself, ask a question, give a comment. Delighted to make it as interactive as possible. We don't do it at the beginning because people are just getting used to Zoom and getting into a room of people that we don't know. So yeah, you're very welcome to do that.
Small thing then, Noel.
Yes, Don.
Well, the amount of time we're investing in training like this and webinars like this, particularly in the last months, I think has been a huge dividend, an unexpected dividend.
I think so, because prior to that, as Helen said, busy fools, we attend to other things and we don't attend to our own learning. And it has been a massive opportunity for most of us now, where we've had that time. I remember someone said to me, please don't waste a good crisis. You know, it's a great time to kind of focus on things. We can go overboard on it though, because it's all we've had. So it's nice now as we start to move out of lockdown, hopefully in the next couple of months, and things start to slowly release. It's nice to bounce back into a little bit of normality.
I suppose I was kind of thinking more of going back to the last exercise of the Wheel of Life. We wouldn't have kind of thought of putting that in anywhere.
That's right.
But it's very much in personal growth now, I suppose, even business growth, you know, linked.
And we forget the mind is a muscle. You know, like we see people keeping fit and looking after their health, but mental health, you know, and no more so now. So that little Wheel of Life is a nice thing to look at.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks for sharing, Don. So if we bounce back here, these were the 4 steps. You know, we want to validate where we are now, your position, both from a business point of view and then from a personal point of view. And then we're going to talk about vision on things that would be on your line of sight. So I have great pleasure to welcome into the room our little guest speaker today, Daria Souza. And Daria, you're very welcome, Daria. I'm going to bring you back onto the screen actually as a spotlight with me, if that's okay.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Good to see you. I was just actually thinking about this time last year. It's hard to believe, Daria. It's nearly a year ago to the day. I think it was the Thursday night of Enterprise Week last year, where you won the county final for Fingal with Kianda. And it's normally then the following May. So March, April, May, literally 8 weeks later, you'd have the national final. It took 10 months for that to happen because it's been extraordinary times. But congratulations on winning the county final a year ago and the national final of the Export Award. So to everyone in the room, what is Kianda and what do you do? And where did the idea for the business come from?
Thank you so much, Noel. And it was amazing to win the award. Thank you for reminding that again. So what is Kianda? With Kianda, we help companies to digitalize their business processes, their manual work, or anything that they would be using, emails, spreadsheets, or paperwork, into digital applications. How did the idea come from? Myself and the other founder, we both have technical background. We both worked in different companies as IT consultants, programmers, and we saw the challenges companies go through when it comes to introducing new systems. The main reason is there is not enough IT talent, and there is a massively growing digitalization needs. It's ever growing, literally, and since the pandemic as well, we are seeing more and more companies are realizing how digitalization is important for them. So seeing these challenges, we thought that it shouldn't be only the IT skilled people, but business users, knowledge workers should be involved in creating these applications to help companies streamline their processes, to introduce new systems. It shouldn't be that difficult. This is how it was born 4 years ago. And we worked on it. First year, it was more R&D and building the product, the platform itself, and going through beta customers and going through export markets. We started with internationally, with outside in Europe, we started, and then Ireland and different parts of Africa and Middle East. We have grown our business. And basically what we do, we help companies automate their business processes and help them eliminate paperwork that they would be spending a lot of time, and they would be going through inefficiencies and perhaps not being able to increase their productivities because of these tasks that they have to do on a day-to-day basis.
And, you know, I love that you just, because everyone picks up on that. When we think of application and apps and tech, you mentioned something there, and I love that you said it. We take away the paperwork. And when you think of any business, there is paperwork to be done. And we've got used to now using more digital tools. So our banking, we're as businesses, we do most of it online. We're paying our bills, our household bills online. We very rarely get the big itemized bill through the door now. It's PDF. And you've been doing that for businesses and large ones. So I remember one of the examples when we spoke first was oil rigs and working off in the North Sea. Without breaking any confidence, can you give an example of some of the things you were doing for large companies like that?
Yes, that large company, they are a marine dredging company, so they have vessels all over the world, basically, and sometimes they have to do their tasks offline. So our platform allows them, say an inspector or a quality manager going into a vessel, they have to do an inspection. They can use our platform on their tablet or mobile phone and take pictures and answer questions quickly, and then submit this, say, the quality process. The good thing is when they go back, they have availability with internet. The system goes in and it synchronizes with their existing office systems. So I think the most important part of it is it's a bespoke solution that they're using, so they can customize. So it's not a pre-built apps that people can go in and use Yes, we have it. But the most important part for large businesses is that they can create any bespoke custom applications they need a lot faster and a lot easier compared to creating them from the scratch with software development technologies or the traditional methods that we used to use. So we speed up that project lifecycle, basically.
So that tech is built by you, it's off the shelf, and it can be customized to a client's need. I want to rewind back though, because what I find extraordinary, as a startup, your first client, you're based in Ireland, but your first client was not Irish. It was an export immediately, wasn't it?
Yes, it was from Denmark, first client. I think I have to say here, one thing that I think it's really important, creating really meaningful connections with your network, existing network, or previous people you work with. Our first customer was someone we previously worked with in another world, let's call it, in another company that we were, the other founder was working. So this is how we reached out. What we did first when we launched our product? We talked to all our network, basically, whoever we knew from our professional network and whoever we could reach out to, we knew. And then this expands, people talk to each other. There is always customer referral that you might be getting, as you mentioned. I think it's so important. In addition to that, what we did, we went to international conferences, European conferences, tech conferences, and tried to meet new people there, new customers, potential leads. And that helps us a lot. That helps us a lot.
Well, it's lovely. And I'm going to throw back up, Daria, one of the exercises we did today was the Voyage early stage compass. And I said that most businesses would look at this, and these are the little tasks that they do as startups. And I wanted to use you as an example, because you mentioned joining a network or two and learning. You were talking to other entrepreneurs and sharing learning experiences. But I want to go down to just underneath that tick box on the left-hand side, entrepreneurial learning, specific programs, new frontiers and feasibility grants. What was your journey through the local enterprise office and then on to new frontiers? Would you mind sharing that with our participants today?
Sure. We are based in the Link Center in Blanchardstown, TU Blanchardstown, and when we started there, we became aware of New Frontiers program. So I didn't know a lot about it before then. And when we launched our product, I did the program myself, and it took about 6 months. It's a bit intense, but you get a lot out of it. In terms of, for me, it was great to be able to be part of startup ecosystem as a first-time comer. And we met really interesting advisors and mentors, as you mentioned. They are really important, and you hear what's going on. You kind of get to understand how actually this works. And at the end of the program, we were introduced to Local Enterprise Office Fingal. That's how it started, and they were really good. We got a couple of grants from them, a business priming grant, expansion grant, and TAME grant, which helped us sponsor in an international conference, European conference. And all of this helped to open up new doors, to meet new people, expand our network, and see what is available out there for startups like us, what supports are available. And in terms of launching our product and doing the program, New Frontiers program, it was a bit of a challenge, but I would recommend anyone who wants to be involved a bit more to see or hear from other peers, because that's really important as well. We did a lot of practice during the program, pitching practices or going through similar workshops that you are doing now. I think they are all valuable. They help you to think about things that you haven't thought before, and which is really important, because I always tell it to myself, I have tech background, but I can't just say I have tech background. I'm not going to do sales. I'm not going to do accountancy because I don't know. I can't do that, because I think this is really important for all of us. We have to be involved in any aspect of the business. So these programs like that help to give us visibility, give us level of understanding of it's not just what we are good at, it's just actually the other things that we need to get better. And they give us really good experience.
So you mentioned a couple of the networks, and we can see here all the way through on the headline banners of some of the things that the Local Enterprise Office in Fingal have on. But you mentioned under financial support, some of these things you availed of as a startup. So there was a feasibility grant, priming grant, and you mentioned TAME, which was the technical assistance for micro exporters. That was a real help to you when starting out, wasn't it?
It was. With that help, we did sponsoring in a conference in Denmark. It was a Microsoft Technologies conference in Denmark. An application was straightforward, so you need to fill in the application, provide some details about your business, and it was straightforward. It was very easy to deal with. And everything that we did with Local Enterprise Office Fingal, I have to say, the team and all of them have been really helpful, and they made these kind of things, procedures, a lot easier than they are, I think, with their help.
Well, we're very, very proud of you, Daria, and Osvaldo, yeah, the business partner and life partner, of course. But you really are a real case study of how the system can work, where you've gone from New Frontiers to LEW and now into Enterprise Ireland, haven't you?
Yes, we have engaged with Enterprise Ireland. We are a client now. We are high potential startup since August last year. They are really good as well. We started to get support from them to help us with our financial planning. And we are looking to talk to investors. We haven't received any investment up until now, but we are starting to talk to investors as well.
Well, Daria, I'm smiling because I know you didn't need it. You bootstrapped the business from all the clients that you had, and there was no need for investment. You were able to bring it. And without, again, breaking a confidence, how many clients have you got at the moment? And give an idea of where they are demographic-wise, location-wise, worldwide. Nope, we've got a break. I think you're frozen there for a second. So we'll wait until the internet catches up on you there again. But while I'm waiting there for Daria to bounce back, that is what I kicked off with, which was it's really important for people to keep an eye, and everyone here, keep an eye on the Local Enterprise Office website. That support mechanisms that's there, whether it be everything from mentoring to training to financial support. So if there's something there that you think might be of interest to you, please inquire to the Local Enterprise Office. And that TAME, that technical assistance for micro exports, was a very small little grant at the time, but it helped Daria get her very first client in Denmark. And I think she just dropped off. Her connection is gone. Do you know what? We should out there. She's a tech wizard, and it happens to her too. You know, the joys of internet. So I'll wait until she bounces back. So Daria, welcome back. I think you're there now.
Sorry about this. I don't know what happened with you.
Not at all. Not at all. I was just saying it happens to us too. It's great when internet kills. Yeah. I was talking about, and if it's okay, where you are at the moment. So we know you're at Enterprise Ireland stage, but without breaking a confidence, how many clients have you got worldwide and demographic where they're based at the moment? Where are you?
We have customers in Ireland, of course, and we have customers in Portugal, Belgium. We have a partner in Belgium who is helping us to expand our reach to Benelux area. We have customers in Middle East, Africa. Now we are talking to some in Australia as well.
So the time zones are becoming a bit of an issue. You're having these conversations at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Some of them are, happening very early in the morning. Some of them are happening at late nighttime. And we have full paid customers, and we have some companies who are using our platform via a paid customer. So overall, we have more than 60 enterprises using the system now.
Yeah, so 60 enterprises. And how many years in business now to get to 60?
3 years we launched. Since
3
3 years ago we
years.
launched.
Yeah. If you're looking around the room in gallery view, there's a few people just fell off their seat, you know. So 60 clients internationally based in 3 years or so. It is a phenomenal story, and we're very proud of you. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm going to open up to any questions that are here, but I'm going to kick it off with a question from myself because I know the answer, but I think it's lovely. Kianda, where does the name come from and what does it mean?
And the other founder, he is originally from Angola, and Kianda in Angolan mythology means the one that protects the good. And for us, this is important. I think we always had this idea of helping not just business, but people working in the businesses to have that flexibility, the being part of this automation trend that's going on, rather than watching it from, but being in the driving seat. So this is how it started. Yeah.
It's brilliant. And I'm going to open it up to anyone in the room that has a question for Daria this morning. While you're unmuting yourself, I'll just throw up the website. So kianda.com. All the details are there on what it is you do and how you do it. And we're very proud of you. And it's thank you for joining us this morning. So any questions from the group that are here? I know Anne is saying here, congratulations, Daria. Great story, super innovation, continued success for future growth. And thanks for bringing your story to us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Just before you go, I'm going to throw this up because we're halfway through this little journey this morning. As part of working smarter to future-proof yourselves, these were the 4 steps: validating where you are, having a vision, trying to identify personal visions and business visions. And then we're going to be talking about shortly about broadening our perspectives of view, and then validating some actions to go. When you look at those, what ones jump out of you for your journey? You know, can you remember validating where you were 3 years ago and where the vision was for Kianda at the time?
Yeah, I think validate and the vision are the ones that are kind of coming straight to my eye. We always had this, when you start your business, you don't know what kind of feedback you're going to get from your first customer. So I think validating is something that happens throughout the journey anyway, especially with the pandemic. Now we are seeing things are changing. The market has changed. The people, what they need, it has changed. So what we are doing, which is helping us, we are trying to solve new problems. What we were doing 3 years ago may not be working now. So always trying to find, always validating. I think it's important. And getting our first customers, their feedback was spot on for us, because we went back and we fixed things. We knew that we had to grow our technology with the customer feedback rather than our gut feeling. So this is what we did. In terms of vision, I think vision is something you wake up with and you sleep thinking about it, and it has to be there always. It's not something that you can say, you know what, today I don't want to do this. You can't run away from it. It's you love it. We love what we do. We used to, I was always telling this because we are husband and wife founders. We used to only talk about business at nighttime after we come from work. Now we day and night constantly talking about it, which is helping us to grow our vision, because your vision changes as well. And it's not the same as what we were thinking maybe 4 years ago with everything that's going around the business. But it's important to keep that in mind. And whenever you feel, this is really hard for me, it's just bring that back up and making it something you focus on and something that you see yourself getting there. These small problems you might be seeing during the day, during the week, they are small obstacles that you're gonna go through them, and the vision is there. Its vision is yours, and you can define it yourself, and that helps us a lot.
Daria, that's fantastic. So on behalf of myself and everybody in the Local Enterprise Office in Fingal, Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you're on gallery view, as you're looking around, you can see everybody giving you a virtual round of applause. We're going to watch this space with great interest to see where you can actually bring the business, and give my regards to Osvaldo, and thank you for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Not at all. So to everyone else in the room, is really important. We're on bang on time here at 10:30. I promised that about an hour and a half in, we would do a quick comfort break. So I'm going to say for 10 minutes, if you want to run and switch on the kettle, grab a tea, grab a coffee, stretch your legs, have a bit of a comfort break, and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes. And then we'll do the next 2 parts of it with a bit of breakout rooms, and we'll be finishing then at 11:30. So enjoy your break. I will see you in 10 minutes.
As your local enterprise office, we're your first stop shop if you're thinking about starting, growing, or pivoting a business anywhere in Ireland. Your local enterprise office is an expert hub that provides access to funding, mentoring, training, support, and guidance for all types of small businesses. There are 31 LEOs nationwide, and we're here to help you at any stage, whether you're an entrepreneur who's looking to start a business, a new startup looking for additional support, or an existing business owner looking to pivot or grow. We can also help you access other valuable supports from local authorities, Enterprise Ireland, and other state agencies. Visit www.localenterprise.ie to contact your local enterprise office and find out more. Together, we can make it happen.
So welcome back. I hope you got a chance to grab a tea, grab a coffee, and stretch your legs and have a comfort break. So let's continue on with the little voyage this morning. So as we were going through the first couple of points, validating where we were, and then starting to think about vision. And then I'm going to kind of blend that with the view a little bit. So I want you to assume everything was to go brilliantly in the next 12 months. We have 12 boxes in front of us. Here we are, the 1st of March, the very first box. So what would success look like in those 12 months' time? So what I'm asking there is, in box 12, if you were to draw 12 boxes on your little piece of paper there, and the first box is where you are today, and the last box is something in the future, this day next year, where would you like to be? What would be the steps to get there? Right, that's really where we're going with it. So I'm going to ask you to take a few moments to do this. And by the way, Stefan has just popped in there. Thank you, Stefan. I got your message there. I know that something's come up. Stefan very kindly said, I can't continue with the second part. A little bit of work thing came up, but no issue with that at all. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Local Enterprise Week, Stefan. So thank you for the message. So if you took your piece of paper and did 12 boxes, roughly like this. So 4 boxes across, 3 boxes down. And then you, on your piece of paper, start to identify where you are today, but then where you'd like to be in 12 months' time. That'd be the bottom box, something you'd like to have achieved, if you like, by then. And then the milestones across the way. So in order for that to happen, month 3, I need to do 4 networking events. Month 5, I need to redo my bank set up and statements, whatever it may be. So I'm going to ask you to map that out. Now, you don't have to fill in every box. There's just a couple of milestones along the way of, if I rewind back and as an example, imagine everything was to go as amazingly well as it possibly could be. What would the success look like in months? So I'll ask you then to itemize those down on those 12 boxes. So assume everything was go swimmingly well in the next 12 months. What would you map out in those next 12 months, in those 12 boxes, on milestones that you would do to achieve ultimately that goal in 12 months' time? So you can blend this with some of the personal goals from the Wheel of Life that we just did, or you can put in some business goals also. Now, as you're doing it, what normally happens is the word but comes into it. In other words, you're putting down a goal and then instantly you're saying, but I can't do it because of this. Don't be afraid to put that down too as the challenges. So as you're thinking about mapping these things out, little roadblocks come to mind, little hurdles that may not help you achieve one of those goals. You can write down one of those hurdles because we have a little exercise that we'll be doing with the breakout rooms now in a couple of minutes. So as I said, a quick reminder, we have 12 boxes in front of you, and in the top left-hand box is us today. Bottom right-hand box is this day or this month next year, and you're mapping out into each box a couple of milestones to get you to a success, something you'd like to achieve by this day next year. And as you're thinking of those, you're going to be thinking of the hurdles also. So don't be afraid to put those down maybe on the sidebar of them. So as you're thinking of those, you may have 1, 2, or 3 challenges that come to mind. So there are critical things that you were thinking of there. There were the buts. I'd like to do this, but this will get in the way. So this is what we're going to focus on. So you've put down 1 or 2 goals, and they could be private or personal ones, or they could be business ones. And as you're putting them down, you're coming up with challenges. So I want to introduce a little exercise to you that you're very welcome to organize this yourself at any stage in the future. We call it 1 entrepreneur and 2 consultants. And it's a very simple process. And I'm going to invite you to avail of it now. We're going to open up the breakout rooms again with 3 people in it. Now there'll be 3. I'm probably going to see if I can keep it as close to the previous one. It might be 3 different people in the room with you this time. And we'll do it for about 12 minutes. Actually, we might see if we can make it a little bit longer. I'm watching the time, but we'll go for 12, 15 minutes or so. And as the entrepreneur, you share one of those challenges with the other 2 people in the room, and they become the consultants. And they might advise you then. So you share the challenge and then you button it and take some advice. And don't accept everything, accept all the advice, in other words. Rather than dismiss it, just take it. And you write it down and go, okay, that'll be something to consider. And then you flip. Someone else becomes the entrepreneur and the other 2 people become the consultants. You'll become one of the consultants. And then we repeat for each person in the room. So we'll see how we get on in those 12 minutes. So 3 people in the room, 1 person becomes the consultant, shares one of the challenges, and the entrepreneur, and the other 2 people become the consultants and then share some advice. 1 entrepreneur, 2 consultants, and then you flip. So what you're sharing is the challenge that you've just identified, maybe one of them, on those 12 boxes, achieving those goals. So let's set up those breakout rooms again. I'm going to recreate them, and let's see if we can do it that we get 3 people in each one. Yeah, so there we go. There's 14 rooms maybe. So very simple, and 1 room has 4 people in it. So we'll see how that one works out. So Tony's taking a call. Tony, I might bounce you then into another room. I'll sort that one out actually.
Don't come, cameras on.
So they are, Dermot. Sorry, I just muted you there just in case you unmute yourself by mistake. Okay, so I'll open the rooms, 3 people in each room. And let me see, room 3, 1 or 2 people left there. So just realigning that. 12 minutes, share your challenge as an entrepreneur. So you have to decide first of all who goes first, and the other 2 consultants, the other 2 people in the room give some advice, and then you flip. Somebody else becomes the consultant, the other entrepreneur, and the other 2 people become the consultants, and you're able to offer some advice. And we'll see how we get on for 12 minutes. So the rooms are now open. Off you go. So welcome back, everybody. And I was just laughing with one or two people that bounced out earlier on. I said, well, you see what'll happen. It'll go 3, 2, 1, and then everyone comes back at once, which again, I need to apologize for. You were in mid-flight, weren't you? Chatting away and then kicked out of the room. So don't worry. At the end of the session, there's a chance to continue those conversations if you wish. We'll be able to facilitate that. It is a short session. I told you it flies to 11:30, and we wanted to maximize it as much as possible. So really, that process is the thing that we wanted to introduce, because this is something you can do at any time. We call it one entrepreneur, two consultants. And I know of people that we've worked with in the past 3 or 4 years ago, and they still have these kind of board you can't afford style meetings where they meet once a month or once a quarter, and they do exactly this. They share challenges that they're having with their business, and then the other people, other business owners, share some solutions. They become consultants, and then they flip. So somebody else becomes the entrepreneur and gives someone else a chance. It is a super little formula for that board you can't afford. You know, if you think what a boardroom does, people come in, they share their problems, and they come up with solutions. So a nice little thing to do. So from a vision point of view, we've identified a couple of steps over the next 12 months that you might like to do, and the challenges. And there are some mechanisms to help get around that. But let's talk about broadening your perspective and working on your business. So one of the solutions is that you can avail of the Local Enterprise Office supports and training. But Daria mentioned it, the value of networking and the value of getting to know from other people trends and research in a certain area and suggestions. So it ties lovely with that one entrepreneur to consultant. So I'm going to ask the question, what do you need to know? So from a helicopter view point of view of that journey from position A, where you are now, to where you want to be 12 months from now, what are the things you need to know? And that's a challenge. So what tools can I use? Now, some of the online tools certainly help us work smarter rather than harder, but it has never been easier to network using what we're using now. FaceTime, WhatsApp, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, anything where you can have a quick coffee break with somebody and a chat and do some valuable market research by asking questions and getting answers. So I want to challenge everyone in the room with that. So a helicopter view of the business. So when we think about that, I often think of this video called The Wisdom of the Crowd. You've often seen these competitions where you'll get a car if you guess the number of jelly beans in a jar. Well, there's a very famous exercise, and I'm going to show you that video now, of somebody just doing that. And we call it the wisdom of the crowd. Have a quick look at this and see somebody doing that jelly bean guess in real life.
450. 800.
12,000.
7,000.
How many jelly beans do you think there are in this jar?
80,000.
80,000.
No, actually, 50,000.
50,000?
Yeah.
Okay, 50,000, yeah. Okay.
It's incredibly difficult for anyone to guess how many jelly beans there are. I asked 160 people, and most were way off the mark. Everything from 400 right up to 50,000 beans. In fact, only 4 people got anywhere near the correct answer of 4,510.
Plus 1,500, plus 3,273, plus 873, plus...
But if I add all the answers together and take the average, I'll get the combined guess of the entire group.
Plus 4,500, 463, plus 853, plus 1,000, plus 5,000, which gives a grand total of 722,383.5. Somebody thought there was half a bean in there. Now, there are 160 guesses made, so let's see how close they are collectively. Wow, that's extraordinary. If you remember, there were 4,510. The average guess to the nearest bean is 4,515. I mean, I thought it'd be close, but I didn't think it'd be that close. That is ridiculous. So although we had guesses that were all over the place, up in 30,000s, right down in the 400s, collectively, we get something which is just 0.1% away from the real number of beans in there. So, as individuals, the guesses are just that, guesses. But when you take them collectively, they become something else entirely. 5,000, 1,480,
9,000.
2,000.
What tends to happen is that, more or less, as many people will underestimate the number of jelly beans as overestimate it.
1,766.
A few people will be way off the mark either way, but that doesn't matter. Provided you ask enough people, the errors should cancel each other out.
I love that video as an example of how market research works. And we call it the wisdom of the crowd. The more people you ask, the more accurate the average answer is. And I think right now, it's never been more important for us to have our radars on and watching for trends. And let me explain what I mean. You all know these, for any ladies in the room, that if you were pregnant, then all of a sudden, all you see are pregnant women everywhere. If, to the gentleman in the room, if you think about buying a red Volkswagen Golf and you've made that decision, suddenly all you see are red Volkswagen Golfs everywhere. Because when it's on your radar, when suddenly it's at the front and center of your thoughts, you start to see that everywhere, whatever it may be. So if your business is thinking about looking for opportunities and you put it front and center, you will start to see them. That's the theory of it. And then you will be able to avail of wisdom of the crowd. Let me give an example. Wouldn't you just hate to be the architect who designed that? And we see this all the time. It's designed one way, but market research tells us, no, sure, that's the shorter cut. We're going to do that. There's a great story on this where a true story, a building company in Germany, just outside Frankfurt, were building a university. So they built the university, all the buildings were built, and they didn't put in any paths, none. They sowed everything in grass and left it for 12 months and came back the following year and built the paths where everyone had walked. Fantastic market research when you think about it, and looking for the most efficient routes that were decided by the people that used them. And very simple. So from a wisdom of the crowd point of view, we want you to think about maybe harnessing clients and customers and asking them for trends or things they like, things they don't like. And with that, it brings us to the final exercise of the day, the lean model canvas. So many of you will be familiar with this, and some of you will never have seen it before, but it is a new way of mapping out a business plan. And I'd like you to have a go at it today. We're only going to do about 3 or 4 boxes, but it's a lovely way of looking at things fresh and new. So what I'll ask you to do, and we'll divide these out a little bit easier. On your sheet of paper, I'm going to ask you to draw out these 9 boxes. Now, if I go on here a little bit, there is an online version of it. It's called leanstack.com. So you can use this later. But just for today, I'm going to ask you to just draw the 9 boxes, and I'll throw them up on the screen now so you can do it. But take note of leanstack.com, free website that does one of these digitally. So this is what it looks like, but I'm going to show you a simple version of it. So here it is. These are the 9 boxes I'm going to ask you to roughly draw. The simplest way to do it is come up a little bit from the bottom and draw a line across horizontal and then half it. And they're the 2 boxes number 5. And then the space above it, divide those into 5 equal spaces. And the 2 center ones, then do them in half. Right, so you can see them there, horizontal in half. So you're left with 2 big boxes, one top left, one top right, one big box in the middle, that's box number 2, 2 big boxes on the bottom, lying flat, and then 4 other boxes, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, that are divided up. So roughly something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. But what we're going to ask you to do is in each of these, and again, this is completely private to you, but it's a really nice way of rewinding and reaffirming what your business strategy and plan is. And we're doing this in bullet point format. That's all it is. It's just little words or phrases that remind you of what it is you're doing in business and your goals and aspirations as a plan. So here we go. So don't worry, we'll be filling this with plenty of time to keep drawing it as you go. So first off, we have to know what our audiences or our customer segments are, the problems that we solve for them. So we start filling in the lean canvas from the 2 outer sides first, the problem we solve and who we solve it for. So that's why they're filled in this order. Box number 1 has 2 boxes, the one in the top left and the one in the top right. So let's go for the first one in the top left. And you're kind of thinking of the top right one as well at the same time, but let's go for the problem one. List 1, 2, or 3 problems that you solve. Now, not the solution, but just the problem you solve. So think of your target client or customer. What problems do they have that you solve? Now, not the solution, just the problem that you solve for them. So if you are a mechanic, the problem you solve is cars break down. That's it. Right? How you solve that problem is a different box. So the problem you solve, the top left-hand corner, write down 1, 2, or 3 problems that you solve. Now, in the top right-hand corner, we've got the customer segments. So after you're designing the problems or thinking of the problems, then you're thinking in the top right-hand corner of who have those problems. So as you're thinking of who needs solutions, start to define those. Now, this is getting really detailed. So give them a name. My ideal customer is Susan. She's aged between 24 and 45, lives in North County Dublin, Rush, Lusk, Skerries, Balbriggan, Ballybuckle, Knoll, North Swords, married, an average 2.4 kids, likes Dancing with the Stars and shopping at Marks and Spencer's. That kind of detailed customer analysis. And then you can have a second customer who's John. He's 40 to 45, lives in Dublin City, recently divorced or single, likes golf and drives a 6-7-year-old car, whatever it may be. So you're getting really defined. Top left, the problem you solve. Top right, who you solve it for. Now, the big box in the middle is your unique value proposition. And we call this your why. In other words, lots of people will say what we do and how we do it, but that doesn't drive behavior. So when you're giving that pitch, that little unique value proposition, the one-liner, it's very hard to define it if you haven't figured out your why. So a little bit of homework for you. There's a book called Starting with Why. It's Simon Sinek, and it's the 3rd most popular TED Talk on the planet. If you remember, some of the action points I was saying is subscribe to podcasts or look at some TED Talks. This is always worth a rewatch. It is a superb video, and it defines our unique value proposition, not just what we do and how we do it, but why we set up the business in the first place, what problem we solve. So it's Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, Simon Sinek, starting with why. You type that into Google, you will find this video, and it's well worth a watch because it is your unique value proposition. It's your single, clear, compelling message that states why you're different and worth buying. And that is a challenge. And one of the things is 2 years ago, you could have this down to a T, but the world around us has changed. So your unique value proposition needs to change with it. So in the middle box there, have a go and think about what is your unique value proposition and why people would buy from you, your product, your service. Now, that is the extent of what we're going to go through here, but I am going to explain the other boxes because the other part of your homework is at some stage, fire up the tea and coffee again and finish this one out for you. It is a one-page business plan, which really can identify different steps to work smarter to future-proof your business. So you've defined the problem you solve and who you solve it for in box one left and one right. Your unique value proposition is your core message. So Brennan's bread would be today's bread today. It's a very simple line that says we deliver fresh bread every day. That's what makes us different. It's very unique. And that's what our values are founded on. Your solution is in box number 3. So it's how you solve the problem and the problems you identified in box number 1. So you know who your clients are, box top right. You know what the problems are, now the solution. So how do you solve the problem for the client or customer? That gives rise to your unique value proposition. So you can see why the boxes touch one another. They're linked. So that's box number 3. Box number 4, the channels. Now, this is something that definitely has changed. So that's your route to market. So you've got your unique value proposition and now the customer segments, who you solve it for. What are the channels that you get that message to them on? So traditionally, it could have been trade shows. As Daria said there, I went to a trade show and we used the TAME export grant to do that. They're cancelled at the moment, postponed. So there has to be a new channel. It could be social media. It could be LinkedIn. It could be Zoom. It could be social media, newspapers, radio, billboards, television, radio, word of mouth, networking seminars like today. What channel do you get your unique value proposition to the customer segments? And this is an opportunity to identify new channels, not just today, but ones that are going to appear as we come out of lockdown over the next couple of months. The 2 boxes on the bottom are finance, money in, money out. So on the left are all your costs, on your right is on the income. So revenue streams. And it's nice to write those down and identify them. And you might come up with new revenue streams. So membership, subscription levels. So we've had a client who actually did a brilliant pivot into membership. In other words, instead of once-off fees, they divided out over 12 months and you pay this subscription model and you get unlimited access. Now, they'd worked it out pretty well, but it was little and often. It was a different model than what they were using. 6 is your dashboard. If you could design a dashboard for your business, what dials would you put on it? What are the things you measure? So your key metrics, sales, funnels, marketing spend, customer acquisition costs, whatever it may be. What do you measure? And then finally, box number 7 is what gives you an unfair advantage over your competitor. Something unique. So it could be a patent, it could be a copyright, but generally the most common and the most popular unfair advantage is you. You cannot be copied easy. You know, people buy from people. So when we think about what's unique to ourselves, It could be the values that we founded the business on and the personality traits that people love dealing with us or our salespeople with. It's nice to revisit those again, those values, those ethics that gives us an unfair advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in the room, it is a fabulous piece of paper, because when you fill it out, let me show you this. If you were to fold it in half with a vertical line down the middle, everything on the left is to do with your product or your service. Everything on the right is to do with your market. So if you had to fill out a business plan right now, a full large business plan on the templates that are given out to you for entering competitions or applying for finance, this becomes your go-to sheet, the one-page sheet. If someone asks you about your product or service, you go to the left-hand side, the problem you solve, how you solve it, the costs associated with it, and the key metrics, things that you manage. And the unique value proposition is the only box that straddles both of them. If someone asks you about your market, you go to the top right-hand corner. Here's the customers we target, how we get the route to market to them with their unique value proposition, what gives an unfair advantage, and our revenue streams in. It is a super, super one-page sheet. And I would urge everybody to take some time out and to fill it out for your business today. I mentioned during the break there to Claire and Teresa, who came back from the breakout rooms early, there's a very famous story about Einstein, Albert Einstein, who was lecturing and was a teacher at the time. And he set an exam for his students, and the students said, "Sir, these are the same questions that you gave us last year." And he smiled and said, "Yeah, but the answers are different this year." And that has no more been so than today, that we designed our business to run in a world that has changed dramatically. Now it's about re-looking at our business plan and adapting to those changes. So we hope that that is something that you will action, but I promised that we would do one final little exercise, and it's something that I'm going to ask you to continue on with after we finish. And this is evaluating and planning to commit to real actions. So I'm going to ask you to promise yourself today, what one thing or two things will you do? So take some time to do this. And if you want some help with it, your consultants in the room, you can become your business buddy. So in order for my business to succeed, I must start. What are you going to do? In order for my business to succeed, I must stop. So what are the things we're going to do? And what are the things we're going to stop doing? And in order for my business to succeed, I'm going to ask the following people to help me or hold me accountable. So in the groups that you were in, Josephine, Mohammed, and Sarah were in group one. You can ask one of those other people to become your accountability buddy. You're going to make a commitment or a contract today to start this, to stop that, and you can check in with them in a week's time to see did they do it, and have you done yours as well. So if you don't want to do that and you're going to hold yourself accountable, that is fine. And we'd invite you to do that. So in order for your business to succeed, I must start. In order for my business to succeed, I must stop. Whatever things you're going to start, whatever things you're going to promise yourself to stop, and hold yourself accountable. They're the first steps to working smarter, to future-proof your business. So if we were to ask a couple of questions from today, and I'll give you a little evaluation sheet in a second, but after we went through the things today, are you feeling a bit more confident when you look at planning out some areas that were just a little bit airy-fairy, and it's nice to write them down and have little actions on it? So do you know your business? Yes, you do, but it's nice to look at new areas that might need to be changed. Have you a map of your journey? Well, you've started to map out 12 months now that will constantly change. So it should be a living, breathing document all the time. What worked? What didn't work? It's nice to measure that. You know, I love that life lessons. If this works, keep doing that. If this didn't work, stop doing that. And what have we learned today? So it's a nice way of looking back and go, out of that, I got one or two little nuggets, or I learned something from some other people in the room, and I'm going to action those. So now list the action points, and they can only be one or two. It doesn't have to be huge, but like a Formula One driver, you got to go out and do the laps, go round and round and round and test and drive and see what works. And bear in mind that your local enterprise office are your mechanics. Always come back in and look for new courses, new piece of information, new networking groups, a way of connect and a way of learning and a way of sharing. So thank you so much for this morning. I'm going to ask you for one last little thing, if you wouldn't mind, is our feedback. So all our training is audited. And we'll ask you just to do it one last Menti before we close the session. So menti.com 6639591, and we'll ask you to do a quick evaluation on today. And thank you for some of the private messages there. So it's brilliant. Anne, thank you very much indeed. That's lovely. There are valuable reminders that we all need. I know as I'm delivering it, I'm going, yeah, you need to do this yourself. Ronan, thanks a million. And no worries, Ronan's apologize for coming in late. You're not at all, Ronan. You're very welcome. Some of the tech works, sometimes it doesn't, but you're very, very welcome. And Miriam, thank you very much indeed. Claire, good to see you. And as Jerry said, my God, it's 7 years since we met Jerry. So Jerry is a Entrepreneurs Academy alumni, a graduate of one of our programs. Great to see you, Jerry. Catherine, great to see you. And Niall as well. Really appreciate it. They're just simple steps that we can take. As I think was said earlier on, it isn't difficult to work smarter. It's getting rid of the difficult things that we have to do and making them simple. Carlos, good to see Carlos Wynn. Hello, Carlos. Good to see you. How are you? And thanks for joining in. Suzanne, great to see you as well. And Gemma Halloran's there. Thanks, Noel. Thanks, Gemma. I know you were multitasking today. Great to have you, and I hope all is well. And thank you to everyone in the room. I would leave you with the last ask of today, and that is to embrace all the sessions of Local Enterprise Week. If any of the sessions are booked out, please don't worry. They are constantly repeated throughout the year. So keep an eye and book the ones that you've missed. What I'm going to do is I am going to close the session now, and thank you, but I will leave the chat room open for another 15 or 20 minutes and the ability to unmute yourself if you want to. So if you made a contact here, you're very welcome to continue that conversation offline. So if you want a few moments to reestablish that connection and share some details, you're very welcome to do that. So thank you for today. I wish you the very best. Enjoy Local Enterprise Week, and be kind to one another, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much indeed. Slán, look after yourself.
Thank you for supporting Local Enterprise Week. To find out more about other supports and programs for your business, please visit localenterprise.ie, and together we can make it happen.